Hello, welcome to the Maya Toolbelt. This is Michael. We're continuing with our environment project here. You can see we have this main piece of the wall here UV'd. And so what we're going to do in this video is actually start to take these pieces that we've already completed the UV process and replacing the ones that we haven't yet, so we can kind of flesh out these parts of this remaining gray area to get them as UV'd as possible with what we have. If you hear that noise in the background, I apologize. My neighbor is doing some yard work right now, so he's a little loud right now, but it's a little too hot to have windows closed and stuff right now for where I live. I'll be sweating up a storm if I did that. In any case, though, this isn't too difficult to do. Obviously, this section of wall over here with these windows and doors and such that we have can be relatively easily swapped out with what we have here. So currently, these pieces are all grouped. So if I select one and press up on the keyboard, I have them all grouped together. So I have the pivot point of this piece set here so that I can easily flesh out the rest of this wall by duplicating it and then snapping it to this point. Going this direction, however, that snap won't necessarily work as well. But we're going to go ahead and duplicate it, hit Control D, and then we're going to move that duplicate over here like this. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm middle mouse clicking and dragging to kind of move these over. And so you can see I'm going to get it right on top of the other. I'm going to wireframe just so I can ensure that we're right on top, just like that. So I'm right there on top of the gray version of what we have here. Now what we have here originally, the gray version, is not an exact duplicate of this piece. If I were to move this back some, you can see it's mostly the same. You see that? But where it's different is where it meets the corner here. You can see there's a difference with those pieces. So we're going to have to do a little bit more work there. But for most part, I'm going to hit Z to undo that movement. And I'm going to hit Control H now to hide that piece. I can go through now here and select all the ones I know I'm going to delete. So I'm going to delete these all down through here, making sure not to delete the ones I've already UV mapped on the right side over here. We can get rid of all these little squares that are through here, as we're going to replace those with our UV mapped version. So delete all that. So now I'm going to hit Control Shift H to bring back my hidden geometry so I can see what needs to remain and what else I can delete. So down here, this piece is going to be remaining, so we can delete actually the UV mapped one just because I'll need to UV map this existing piece where it is. In this case, the UV mapped column can be the one that we keep, so the gray thing I can get rid of. So I'll just click and move out, and if I click the wrong one, undo that, hold down Shift, and I can drag a box to there to select the opposite piece like that and delete the gray version. Or I can also hide that group again and delete what I know needs to be deleted. Looks like these sections of this wall through here can be deleted. So I'm going to select this group by clicking on one of these pieces, pressing up, and Control H to hide it. And then I can select this geometry that I know I can delete and get rid of it. Control Shift H to bring back those pieces. Similar to the piece at the bottom, this piece has been modified for the corner, so we can get rid of the UV mapped one because we're going to replace it with the gray one since the gray one has been modified. So it looks like in this case, this piece, the UV mapped one and the corner one are identical, so the gray one can be deleted for that piece. And then for this large piece here, it looks like the corner one is a little bit different. So I'll go ahead and delete this one and keep the gray one. Okay, so we were able to keep most of the UV mapped material We just had to get rid of a couple things for the corner pieces that are still there. Okay, so what took us, what, 6 or 7 videos or something like that to UV map over here, we can get done in just a few minutes by replacing over here. And we're going to do, obviously, for the other side, we can duplicate this side over here and get that side done. All right, let's go ahead and UV map this piece. Another option I could do is to actually use the UV mapped one and just modify it to match the gray one. So let me undo deleting this one. I'm going to try that. So I have the UV mapped one selected. You can tell I have it selected because you can see the edges highlight through here. The gray one stretches through there. I'm going to right click and choose vertex. So I'm just going to grab these vertices and just pull them over here until they match in general where these gray ones are, like that. And now in the UV editor, if I go to panels, saved layouts, perspective / UV editor, one thing we'll have to keep in mind is that this piece did not stretch out like I pulled out, so the proportions of these UVs are different now than our model. I'm going to hold down the shift key and click and drag through here so I can select the other piece, the gray piece, and I can delete that gray piece now. Now because I pulled those vertices out, you can see what's happening here. The UVs are getting all distorted. So over here in the UV editor, I'm going to select these UVs and just pull them out like I did it with the geometry until the UVs get straightened up. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. For these pieces, I'm going to go ahead and, because I feel like it might be easier, I'm going, instead of deleting the UV map piece like I did, I'm going to duplicate this one and bring it over here. And let's go ahead and do the same method where we just stretch it out over there and then adjust the UVs to fix the distortion that's created from it. So I'm going to right click and choose vertex, grab all these vertices, and then pull them out here to match what the gray box is doing that we're going to be replacing. And again, a lot of this stuff is just kind of scooting into the wall just for the sake of filling up this corner piece. So now I go back to object mode, hold down shift and click a little box through here to select the gray geometry and delete it. And then I would need to go into the UV editor like we did before, and I need to select the proper shell. This one we can move over. That one didn't change, but this one needs to be scaled. So I'm going to grab those side UVs and pull them out like this until we're getting a more proportionate look at our texture grid. So something like that. Okay. I feel like that's probably easier than re-UV mapping all those gray pieces. So in hindsight, instead of deleting the UV mapped ones that I had, I should have just did this. But we do have these over here that we can use. So I'm going to grab the counterpart pieces over here that I need, and then Control D to duplicate them, and then move them over here. So yeah, in hindsight, instead of deleting those original ones that I had, I would just adjust the geometry like I did, like I'm doing now. And now I can select these vertices all through there, stretch them out this way to fill in the gap just like the current geometry is doing. So now I'm going to hold shift and just drag through here. I'm going to also pick up other pieces in the background. I'll need to deselect those, but I just want to make sure I have only those gray pieces selected. I'm just going to move it out here just to make sure I don't have anything else selected, and I don't, so I'll delete those. And then for these pieces, I'll need to fix the distortion that was caused from adjusting their UVs like that. So I'll select the UVs over here and pull them out this way. And also, because these pieces are now being tucked into the wall over here, for efficiency's sake, I could delete these faces that are not going to be seen on these far sides over here. So It's not too big a deal though if they're still there. Okay, so this is that left side. We don't want to, we don't actually need it since it's going to be way back here, so we can delete that actually. So I'm going to grab those faces and delete them. And then we can grab these UVs, and we do have this piece down the middle here. Might actually go ahead and let's try this. Select this face and delete it. I got some extra extra vertices here. I can delete that one. I'm going to grab this edge like this. So if I go back to my shaded view, I can see what I've done here. Now I'm going to try this. If I hold down W, left click and hold down, I have preserve UVs. I'm going to turn that on, and as I move this piece out, you can see that it's actually stretching the UVs out along with it. Again, that's holding down W, hold down left mouse button, and turn on preserve UVs. And so now when I move that edge like this, those UVs are going to stay put and stretch along with the geometry, which is very handy in this case. Alright, then we got this piece. Grab the UVs, and we're going to pull them out here. So it'd be about proportional like that. And again, because this is tucked into the wall back here, we can delete these faces, kind of clean this up a little bit as we go. Alright, this piece, we can delete these faces that are tucked in the wall. Hit delete. And then we need to stretch out these UVs so that they're proportionate, or proportional, however you say that. So yeah, even though it is taking a little bit of time, at the same time I think it's a lot faster than completely redoing the UVs for unUV'd geometry. So I'm just in the UV editor, I can just deleting those faces over here since I know I'm going to be getting rid of them. Okay, there we go. So now I've filled in that corner pretty good. Let's go ahead and get these ready to be duplicated for the other side. So if I select this and press up, you can see I have pieces over here that are inside this group. If I select this and press up, I have this group. So I want to kind of consolidate these two groups together. So in the outliner, press the F key, I have wall with door 2 over here, and then I have wall with door 1. So I want to kind of put these two groups closer together. So what I can do is I go down here and drag up like this. I'm actually splitting my outliner in two. So I can select this other group. So I can press the F key over here. So now I have wall with door 1 here. And then because I have a split screen outliner over here, I can have wall with door 2 right there. So I'm going to middle mouse click and drag wall with door 2 down here and place it between those two groups so it's right there next to the other one, and then I can drag this back down. That's a pretty handy feature of the outliner if you have a really long list like this. So wall with door 2 and wall with door 1 like this. So what I want to do then, I have both these two groups. I'm just going to select them both and group them, Control G. And now I have this group 20 node. I can rename this to be wall, like that. And within the wall group, I have both these two groups, which I'll clean up in a little bit. I want to have all these pieces over here to be inside this group, so that's not spread out between two different groups. But with this wall group selected, I can use that and duplicate it. So Control D to duplicate it, and we can move it over here. And I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to say scale X is -1, which mirrors it that way. But then I also want to mirror it this way, so scale Z is -1. Hit enter. And now this has been flipped over. And actually, now that I look at it, scale Z should still be +1, like this, because we want these stretched out pieces on the right side over here. Alright, so let's get these in place. And one way we can easily kind of do this, or more easily, if I hold down the D key, I can move the pivot point of my group and hold down D for edit pivot, and then V for snap to point, and then middle mouse click and drag down here on this bottom corner like this. So now my pivot point's way down there. Whoops. So let me zoom in really close down here. I'm going to close my outliner because apparently I'm clicking in there too much. Okay, so now I see these two corners that are going to match. And it may be easier to turn on wireframe on shaded just so I can see it. And so this group's pivot point is right here. Hold down the V key to snap the point and just snap it right on top of the corresponding point of that corner, so that we know that these pieces are now all lining up like we want them to. Okay, so now what I can do is Control H to hide that group and delete all this stuff that I know is going to be replaced. So delete all this, zoom in here, get rid of these little squares. And now I'll hit Control Shift H to bring back that geometry. And I can get rid of the wireframe on shaded like that. So now those pieces have been replaced with these UV mapped pieces. So again, we're getting a lot done in a short period of time here thanks to doing all that work for that first section of wall. Okay, so now what we can do is we can look at this back wall here. Now this back wall is not a duplicate of the side wall, of course. It is using a lot of the similar elements though that we can try and piece and match together with different pieces of our UV mapped components. So, for example, the columns, these pieces here. So what I could do is let me grab all the geometry for my UV mapped column, including, make sure I click on the right spot, there we go, including that piece behind it. Make sure I go up here and grab this piece, and let's go ahead and go all the way up. Looks like all this geometry could potentially be used. Grab all these pieces here, this one and that one. Okay, so we got all the way up to the top to there, and we need these pieces back here as well, like that. So press the 5 key, maybe you might be able to see it a little bit easier, everything that I've grabbed. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this now, Control D, and let's move it out from the others just to get some separation like this. Now these I'm going to say Shift P. So Shift P. Let me show you in the outline what happens if I do that. Shift P. And all those pieces I had selected are now outside of that group that they were in. They were originally in this wall group, but now I've duplicated them and taken them out of the group by hitting Shift P, which means unparent. So I've unparented them. And now with these selected, I can Control G to group them in their own little group by themselves. Alright, let's see what I need to do to make this match. Because it's been a while since I've actually modeled all this stuff, so I don't exactly remember everything I did. I guess it's pretty easy to go back and look at the video, huh? Okay, so these columns are facing this way, with these swirly bits facing out. And this piece down here looks like it's oriented right. We just need to reposition it once we get it all in place. So let's go ahead and let's see. Actually, what we might do, since all these outward facing sides are to the left, and this is all the stuff that was stretched to go into the wall, right? Let's go ahead and flip this on the x-axis. So -1 scale x, like this. Okay, that looks more like what I would expect to see. So we can push this in like this and see what we line up with. So these bottom pieces are lining up pretty well. The column does need to get shifted over to match the column that's there. And then this piece looks like it needs to stretch out that way. But otherwise, though, this is going to be a good match, I think, for these components here. So you can pull these pieces. Looks like these should go about right here. Again, I'm not being too worried about like being exact. So now that I have it generally put in the right place, I'm going to select each individual piece, not the group, and move them individually to try and get them to match where the gray box was. This column, select all the column pieces as well as this back wall piece. My computer's starting to run a little bit slow, so I might need to save and restart maybe, because it's going really slow all of a sudden, which is never a good sign. Grab this swirly piece up here, grab these pieces back here. There we go, and we can move them to the side to line them up with the gray version. And then this piece here, we can move it a little bit, looks like, and then we need to stretch it to the left and adjust its UVs once we do. So grab all this stuff, move it to the left. Now you see it snap back. That's because I still have the preserve UV on. Hold down W, hold down left mouse button. You see I preserve UVs. Now, if that left side was deleted, this might actually work. Which, because it is going to be stuck into the wall, I might go ahead and do that. Oh, there's my gardener friend. Let me delete these faces over here. So I'm going to grab all those faces on the side, deselect these that I want to keep, and delete those. Let's press wireframe so I can grab all these vertices here, and we're going to pull these down like this. You can see now with preserve UVs on and those faces deleted, this works fine. So now I can select this group that I have and hide it, Control H to hide, and delete the gray ones that I don't need anymore. Because we're replacing all these. Like that. Control Shift H, bring the group back. We can do the same for the other side. We'll select this group by clicking one of the elements of the group, press up. Then I can duplicate that group, move it over here, and we can scale it +1x to flip it back over, and we can scoot it into place. And it should be identical, since I believe both sides should be copies of each other. Looks like the column's in the right spot. Looks like everything else is doing pretty good. So again, we can hide, Control H, that group, and get rid of the gray geometry that we're replacing. Control Shift H to bring this group back. So there we have both sides have been UV mapped, which is awesome. Alright, because my computer is going so slow, I think it's probably a good time for a break. So let's go and stop the video there. Next we're going to push in on this gray area in the middle and get all that done. And I'm sure that'll only take 10 years. No. Now this UV process, it's obviously necessary, but it's just so time consuming. Like I've said many times. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Hope you're getting some use out of seeing the process and the techniques that I use here. Thanks again for watching, and I will talk to you later.